Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. We have a lot of topics to cover, and we're going to get there. First of all, I want to welcome in the house Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. Welcome aboard. We also have in the house El Señor AVQ with his shorts from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard. We'll get some of those shorts on for you today, my dear brother. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita, and of course, Yvette Avery Herod, beautiful lady, UPS, what should I say, unionist in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for being here. Those on Substack, I start Substack, get the Substack feed late so I don't see everybody. Let me call you out, please. Give me your city and state, and I'll call your name out. It's too many not to, but LBW is in the house. For those who don't know, I have a thing for teachers. I think teachers are the ones who move the world forward. Most important profession in the world, bar none. So LBW, for all that you do with our children, with our kids, you spend more time with them than most parents do. Thank you for being here. And yes, it seems like we've crossed some threshold or something which has been long overdue in my humble opinion. But anyhow, let me tell you what we're going to talk about today, guys. Today we're going to talk about the Gallup poll, no longer doing presidential capturing. We're going to talk about how the Trump administration is really screwing us on the environment by reversing all the things that science has said. We're going to talk about the real job report. Everybody's saying, the job report came out more positive at 130,000 jobs. There's more to the story, the real story. But we also, if I get the time, I want to play a piece that I did this morning about the Nazis. It's a 10-minute piece. I would like to play it if I can, because I think it's something that we need to hear, but we'll see. But I'm going to start with Mika Brzezinski. When the mainstream media really does a real critique on something from the mainstream media, I want to give them some play, because you know what we think about the mainstream media. They are held, they are chained by whom? They're chained by the plutocracy, the oligarchy, the corporations, the capitalist state. They are chained. They can't move as they would like to, as they should, right? So let's go ahead and start that out with La Señora Mika Brzezinski. I loved what she had to say today on Morning Joe. I don't want to hear a comment, Michael Rudden. I know you don't like Morning Joe, but I listen to everybody. It's my must. I put it this way, Rudden. I do it so that you don't have to. Okay? Here we go. Well, Tom Homan, the Trump's immigration czar, also known as, or AKA, Evil Being, came out and gave a press conference today and said, we were successful. The surge that we came to Minnesota for is done. And you know what? We're now leaving. Reality is, I want to give a big kudos to the very well designed and engineered protests that were peaceful, that were effective, that caught these immigration officers, these ICE officers, these CBP officers made them the thugs that they actually are, and had it on video in various angles to show that this police force that Donald Trump has put into place with the purpose of not getting rid of all these immigrants, etc., but in the long run to really terrorize Americans as our economy fails, and those what should I call it, concentration camps that they're building. These are the guys who are going to populate those concentration tanks, not with immigrants, but with you. When the dissension start because of our economic problems. But anyway, today it was really refreshing to see a host just go bat you know what crazy and point out in no uncertain terms, this was not an exit by Holman and the thugs. This was actually them being decapitated by the protesters. I want you to listen to Mika Brzezinski, because I think whenever I see the mainstream media actually says something accurate with respect to going up against Trump, I think it needs to have play. Check out Mika Brzezinski, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Some might say it's safer because ICE is leaving, at least the surge. That is Tom Homan, the border czar, giving the public an education on public safety. Kind of interesting after ICE left a trail of death and destruction in Minneapolis. 2 dead, shot at point blank range by ICE. By ICE. And the investigations of those 2 murders, no word on whether the state will be given back evidence that the feds took away after many administration officials immediately defamed both victims, calling them domestic terrorists, using words like assassin, saying things that simply didn't happen. So the public is safer in Minneapolis if ICE gets out, given what has happened there because of ICE: chaos, fear, people being unlawfully detained, people being ripped away from their families. And no, they're not the worst of the worst. And some of them are merely undocumented, but also working and giving back, serving this country. Yeah, they didn't go after the worst of the worst. They say they are now. And in a condescending way, say that Minnesota is finally working with them to go into the prisons. No, you are cowering away with your tail between your legs and going toward the prisons now to try and figure out how to deal with these polls. As new NBC News polls find, a majority of Americans have negative views of nearly every aspect of President Trump's aggressive immigration and deportation tactics, what they did in Minneapolis, including killing people at point blank range, shooting them in the head or in the back 9 times, and then accusing them moments later of deserving it. People don't like that. People don't like seeing people murdered in the streets and then blamed for being murdered. Tom Homan. No, don't condescend and lecture the state of Minnesota after what your ICE dudes, your ICE bros, idiots, untrained idiots who literally don't know how to handle weapons, who walk in front of cars like boneheads and shoot people. And according to the polling, 60% of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of border security and immigration. This was an issue he ran on, Tom Homan, and then you ran it into the ground. It's down 7 points since August of last year. 66% say they disapprove of the way ICE is handling its job versus 34% who approve, and 6 in 10 Americans say they don't trust that there will be fair and transparent investigations into the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. See, people believe their eyes, Jonathan Lemire. They believe what they saw versus what Kristi Noem said. versus what Stephen Miller said. And Tom Homan, all of you guys in the administration who still somehow have your jobs, you cannot tell the president what he doesn't want to hear, which leaves your numbers in the gutter. Sort of where Pam Bondi accused lawmakers of going yesterday when they presented her with the victims of sexual abuse. She considered those people like being in the gutter. Literally, who raised these people? Who raised these people? Because Americans, they don't like what they see. So you can scurry away from Minnesota and blame Minnesota for the public safety issue. But what ICE brought to Minnesota and Minneapolis specifically was a living hell for the community. Thank you very much. Jonathan Lemire, you better take this away from me. I'll be done now.
So why am I happy that Mika says it? Because while we may have several thousand people that are following what we're doing, Brzezinski is going to have probably in the demographic of boomers, etc., a whole lot of folks that actually would have interpreted Homan's press conference as a Trump success. What Mika did is for the boomers and the older Gen Xers that are watching Morning Joe, she made it clear that this was not a successful mission by Donald Trump and his thugs. What this was people that came into Minnesota, terrorized it, killed people, harmed people, harassed people, and then only because they met daily resistance, hourly resistance, resistant by the second, which is what we're all going to have to do wherever they appear. We were successful because they can't kill us all. They can't kill us all. So no, Homan is incorrect. These guys are running out to Minnesota with their tails between their legs. With their tails between their legs. Okay, we have been doing a whole lot of talking, right? I mean, a whole lot of talking. Let me go ahead, first of all, and read out a few things here. Jane V says, I can't get over there's still 40% approval for ICE. Again, that is what's called an indoctrinated population, a population that is really a part of a cult. So, yep, that's what you're seeing there. Solomon Kane, my buddy here in Houston, says, have you read that the way the government is releasing the Trump Epstein file are a part of psychological warfare? No, I hadn't read that. It would be interesting to expand on that to see what you mean. Don says whoever ordered the information and evidence withheld from Minnesota authorities should be prosecuted for obstruction of justice and accessory to murder. I agree 100%. Stadium says, I believe nada of what any Trump person is saying. You are absolutely right. You shouldn't believe anything coming out of Trump or his administration, because most of what you'll find are lies. Welcome aboard Harry Denson out of Missouri City, Texas. And of course, John Cotter out of Kingwood, Texas. Welcome, John. Thank you for the comments. John is agreeing with Rudnin. I hate Morning Joe. Not to worry. I watch it so you don't have to. E2247 as well is in the house. Welcome aboard E2247. Those of you that have never, Alistair Water is on Substack. If you want to be called out, just give me your city and your state so that I can give you a proper welcome. I like the interaction with our audience. Let's see, where are they going to next? I think they're going to Ohio and Pennsylvania. That's what I think. I think they're going to get those folks in. Remember the folks who eat cats and dogs from Haiti in Ohio? I think that's where they're heading to next. So we have to be on the alert. Now, Ohio isn't as well organized as Minnesota. So we hope that folks in Minnesota will go over to Ohio to help them doing the good thing. Okay, Michael has some good videos their titles seem to be good videos. We'll hold judgment, Michael. We'll hold judgment, Michael. But no, Michael does a great job. So let's go ahead and put his first one. The first one I'm using three of them. One of them we already played yesterday, Michael. Let's see. Para ver, I think I want to do the one with the home invasion from ICE. This is what they want to talk about as if it is something good, folks. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
We learned your
Ooh.
French.
Oh,
We
oh,
learned your. Just check.
oh. I'm sorry.
We
I'm
learned
sorry
your
about that,
French.
guys. There we go.
Why do you do this? Why do you break families apart? Why? You don't have kids? You don't have a family? Why do you do this? Do you think this is okay? I know you feel something. Hey, no. Stop crying! Call your mom. Call your mom. Why, man? Why? No! Don't hurt him! Don't hurt him! You're hurting him! What do you mean? No! No!
All right, all right, all right. I mean, that is pathetic. Let me look at all of you that in the chat right now that are MAGA. You know, it's hard to see this. It's very hard to see this. And as you look at that ICE agent's eyes with his mask on, you see who these people are that are the thugs that are out there doing what they're doing here. This isn't a job. These guys are happy to do this. These guys are masochists. These guys are killers. That's who they are. These guys have no feelings. To do a job like that, you're not human. They're covering their faces because their faces are covered not because they're scared that other people are going to find them. Michael says it right. They're sadists. You have to keep in your heart now who these people are. And for those who are identifying them now, I forgot the website. I think one of our people called here or gave us their website. Okay? Gave us their website. And it is sad that we don't know who they are. We need to find out who they are, and we need to make sure there's a scarlet letter attached to all of them because this won't last forever, folks. This will not last forever. But for all of those who were a part of the perpetration of this vile evil, they must, I repeat, they must pay a price. E2247, before I can put any of that video, you got to tell me some more about it and whether it has any music in it or whether it has a copyright notice on it. Again, this channel is live, and what happens is we could get just thrown to pieces. I can't just do that. Michael knows the routine. That's why when his videos come, we can actually throw them on rather quickly without the music and so forth and give credit, etc. So folks, I am still I am the video still has an effect on me that I'm looking at right now. It still has an effect. This is the instantiation of evil. And all of you right wingers in my chat right now that supports this crap and that doesn't find this offensive, Like I said, I speak to everybody. I love on everybody. I address everybody. I talk to everybody. I try to make peace with everybody. I try to bring everybody along. But that is not going to stop me from telling a truth. What you have done in putting these people in power shows that there is an evil within you. And not only is there an evil within you, if this doesn't, let me tell you what I want to show you the evil mentality of, and I'm going to use it here, even though I try not to get personal. Mike Cisak says they are doing what the law requires. Leftists should rather protect. That's BS. The law also said that slavery was right when they were castrating people that looking like me and cutting off your testicles and so forth. That's what the law said was okay. Until we had civil disobedience, until we had those people who had morals to stop that, until we had people with morality, not like you, sir. People with morals, people who, whatever religion they practiced, they couldn't see. Yes, and here is it, my audience. Here is what one of these evil people on my chat says. I don't find it offensive. That is what we talk about, a generation or a sect in this country that are nothing more than the instantiation of evil. And this person that just wrote that in our chat, that's an evil person and should be treated as such. Evil. All right. Let me go with the second video from my brother here. I think this one has to do with housing. Let's go ahead and see that, my brother. Don't you hear those kids crying? Don't you feel the fear of somebody breaking into your home and not no just seeing a mass folks with guns in your home? Can't you see what that is like? If somebody, can't you see that that can actually give a kid a heart attack? Not to speak of somebody who may have some problems already. These people are evil. This president is evil. The entire thing is evil. My God, that you can't see it, it is shameful. All right, Michael, I'm giving your other one on housing. I think it's a good one.
Billionaires Row is now abandoned. Turns out that's by design. NYC's Billionaires Row has 7 super tall towers clustered around Central Park, including the tallest residential building in the Western Hemisphere at 1,400 feet. And with an average apartment price of $17 million, it makes sense why 50% of the units are empty after 10 years. But that is not why it's abandoned. For the units that have sold, most owners have never moved in. Like this $169 million penthouse whose owner has never even visited. So why spend $100 million on an apartment you'll never live in? Some people tried, but there are major issues, like a trash chute that has no brakes, so garbage thrown from top floors reaches terminal velocity and sounds like thunder when it hits the bottom. Or even worse, because the buildings are so thin, they actually sway in the wind, even with massive counterweights at the top. But that's for the few who actually moved in. Most buyers never had intentions of living there. That's because they aren't homes, they're investments called safety deposits in the sky. Overseas investors take advantage of a tax loophole, where NYC condos are taxed based on comparable rental values. But nobody rents a $100 million apartment, which means there's no benchmark to compare it to. So that penthouse gets taxed like a normal Brooklyn apartment, and saves the owner millions in taxes while its value appreciates. All this while Manhattan faces a housing crisis. But luxury buildings keep popping up all over, like this one that just opened with only 26 units, and even blocks views of the Empire State Building. Billionaires Row is now abandoned.
So, yeah, you know what? That is something that I knew. And it is interesting because when we talk about the housing crisis and how it is the fault of what billionaires do, etc., people, oh, no, it's not that. And they give you the numbers, right? They give you the numbers that show billionaires are only holding a particular section of, let's say, the single housing market or the multi housing markets. What they don't show is what investments like these actually do, not only to the tax base, right, but other other kinds of housing investments as well. Very good one. Another good one, Michael. And let's do the last one I'm going to do from Michael. This one here is another good one. And this is for those of us who spend a lot of time in front of computers and like to use newer tools that allow our better connectivity. I use a whole lot of these connectivity tools with different groups of activists. We use, believe it or not, regular messaging tool has good encryption in it, but most of us in the activist modal we use what's the one that mostly Signal. Signal is the one that we use the most because it is the most secure one of them all. Also, when it comes to integration and talking among each other in groups, we have pretty much left Facebook and gone into Discord, etc. Well, here is a message on Discord, folks, and it starts with a company called Palantir.
It's honestly crazy when every single PC gamer uses the same software. Nothing could touch Discord for years, but we might want to find something else soon. I'm sure you all know this by now, that over the past 2-ish years, Discord has been only getting worse. This app now is riddled with notification bubbles, super annoying ads, constantly updating without improving, and the monetization feels like a brain rot battle pass. But the major news this week might be the final straw that people just don't want to deal with. Starting in March, they're rolling out face scanning and ID checks globally for users to prove that they're adults. By default, your account will only have access to the teen-appropriate experience with probably all sorts of security restrictions. And to unlock those back to a normal account level, you'll have to actually prove that you're an adult. Now, I know people are split on this because I know some people, they don't care at all that they just have to take a picture of themselves and send it to yet another big tech company. But I know other people that are like, there is no way that I'm doing this. I mean, it was just back in October that Discord had a leak specifically of ID photos for more than 70,000 users. Let me know if something like this bothers you and if you plan on just giving Discord whatever they want. Regardless, I have a feeling we're going to see a huge surge in Discord alternatives. They're probably going to have a bunch of AI though, just as a heads up. It's honestly crazy when
And my answer to that is no, Discord. And guess what? Like you, Michael, after I'm done with this show today, I am going to remove Discord from my computer. Anything having to do with Palantir, we got to do it. Now here is the kicker though. And this is a danger zone here. Because right now, as we stand here, I have 5 screens, okay, that we have for the different things we're streaming to, etc. And we are using Facebook, streaming to Facebook, controlled by you know whom, uh, Berg, right? We also are using Twitter, controlled by you know who, Musk, and we are also sending to Twitch. I don't know who owns Twitch or who controls Twitch, but we're also sending to Instagram, controlled by Zuckerberg as well. So what we have is our transport means. In other words, the endpoint. The way. Let me go into. I need to give a little technical lecture here that everybody can understand, right? Um, we had hoped that by now the internet would just be the wires. You know how you get everybody, the big electric companies generate electricity, and all this electricity goes through those big high voltage wires that you see. Then there are resellers that they set up. By the way, I am for socialization of electricity. I want one. I want one system that provides all electricity, because I think what they're doing increase prices, but that's for another day. But then after, given that the electricity is just something that's out there, then they go ahead and they pull down different companies that are going to bill you, just tie into the electricity. Nobody knows how it's generated, whether it's oil, coal, wind. Nobody knows that because it just goes on to the transmission line, right? We were hoping the internet would work somewhat that way, that it is just a bunch of companies. If we didn't want to have just the government having all the routers, etc., that's all it does. It provides a bland transport mechanism. In fact, Back in the early days, I wrote an article for Common Dreams where I talked about why we needed net neutrality, right? So that layer of the internet, you can throw anything on it at the endpoints. Now, if we did that, we wouldn't need, if it really operated that way and there was no limit to speed, etc., we wouldn't need a Facebook as an endpoint. We wouldn't need a Twitter as an endpoint. We wouldn't need all those things because people, I could say the following. I could say, all right, I am going to build my program here. And given that I'm a software developer, I would develop a server here that all of you simply click a button and come into my server, and I have splitters on the outside. But I can't afford to do that, right? Because it is not just a plain neutral vanilla transport for you. So I have to use third parties. So to get my message to you on Substack, I have to go from here all the way to a splitter. That splitter is another private company, in this case Restream, who then goes ahead and say, okay, where are the endpoints that you want to go to? Okay, I want to go to Substack. Okay, I want to go to Instagram. Okay, I want to go to all these others. It makes it difficult for the individual to simply use the cable system, the internet as a transport system so that they have full control. So we have this level of dependency on these Facebook and all these other guys. And now these guys are billionaires that have bought up everything, which means at any time they can go ahead and cut me. Let me give an example. When I decided to just drop software development and go full time as a broadcaster, as an what I call an activist journalist, I was able to do it because I had paid my bills off so that I could drop my necessary requirements about 10% of what I was living on before. It could be live pretty cheap. And you know what happened in one day? My Facebook, YouTube income dropped by 90%. 90%. So whereas I was doing all this stuff for, just throwing data out there, throwing videos out there, 90%. And you know why that happened? Because Google and Facebook, Google controlling YouTube, Facebook controlling their stream on Facebook, and the access of bringing traffic to your website, change the algorithm. And they made it based on how much you're willing to pay, whether ads, so forth. So immediately they had an immediate effect on me and what I could give to you, right? So while in a panic, you have to determine what model are you going to have. Well, an ingenious person came out with something called Patreon. And for the longest time, that was our sole thing. We were telling folks, hey, the advertisers screwed us. If you like what we do, come ahead and help us be able to maintain what we're doing. And then, of course, we got Medium, which is somewhat similar to, not as effective as Substack and these other platforms that are still, again, Substack, Medium, and these other platforms still seem to have morality in that they are not just capitalist companies that are solely intent on extracting. Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. We can still get a message out to you. We can still tell you the truth and not be completely throttled. Throttled meaning that they cut our access to you. Because let me tell you, those of you that's listening on YouTube, those of you that are listening on Facebook or Substack, at any time, Substack can change that algorithm and say, I am not going to put that red light on when Egberto's show is on, or I'm not give you a notification, even though Egberto has put something in there that says, notify all my folks through the application or otherwise that we're going live. So we are putting control of everything into the hands of billionaires, even though they created nothing. But that's how a capitalist system works until we modify the rules that govern our economy. And in that light, I want to come with the other story that we had today. And I'm going to put that on the screen for you now. And it goes as follows. Axios Gallup's presidential approval rating poll. And by the way, I'm going to take your advice, Patrick. Hey, guys, as I am talking, as I'm bloviating or whatever, you see that telephone number on the screen? You can always feel free to call that number to tell me you agree with me, to tell me you disagree with me, to tell me whatever the hell you want to tell me. And the good thing about calling my show in the afternoons as opposed to calling the show in the mornings is that the morning show we can't allow profanities, we can't allow advertising and all that good stuff on the morning show because it's a 501c3 radio station doing public radio. This one here is a free for all. You can do whatever you want. So I learned from my audience. Magner says, Egberto, you asked people to call yesterday, but you wait until the darn end of the program to ask people to call in. So I learned. If you can give me a call. Anybody at any time, call or not call, if you want to. 281-823-7747. And it's on the screen right now for those of you that are listening or viewing the chat. Anyway, Gallup's presidential approval rating polls is ending after 8 decades. Donald Trump has been screaming bloody murder about the polls are wrong, the polls are wrong, the polls are wrong. Oh my God, I'm not behind the I don't subscribe to the Hill. But anyway, I know the story. So anyhow, Gallup has now said they made a business decision that they're not going to reveal the tracking presidential polls anymore. What happened recently? Why Gallup would do that? Gallup is doing that as Donald Trump poll dives to the floor. And Donald Trump completely goes berserk. In fact, he's suing, I don't remember which one of the papers because he didn't agree. Oh, he sued a paper, I think in Wisconsin. Didn't agree with the poll, right? But let me tell you why this is important. I'll tell you, because this is a drip, drip, drip of all. The only way we know what's occurring in our country at large, this is a big country, 350 million people. All right? Oh, thank you, Radin. I can always count on Radin. There we go. Oops. Here we go now. This is the article. It says Gallup will stop tracking presidential job approval ratings after more than 8 decades. The big picture, while Gallup will not continue charting presidential approval ratings as it has throughout the post-World War II era, it says it will remain committed to polling on issues that shape everyday lives. The company decided to discontinue publishing approval and favorability ratings of individual political figures to reflect and, check it out, an evolution in how Gallup focuses its public research and thought leadership, a spokesperson confirmed. Leadership ratings have been part of Gallery's history. At the same time, the context around these measures has changed. Leaders' approval ratings are now widely produced, aggregated, and interpreted, and no longer represent an area where Gallup can make its most distinctive contribution. That's BS. That is BS, because what we have here is the following. When you have Gallup, you have a template, you have history. A good poll, a poll that we can look at the deltas and see how things change. You can't do that if you keep getting a whole bunch of different polls that don't have a polling history, right? Because a poll is not a science. It is not a science. It's a science and an art combination. So what we have here is Donald Trump slowly, he doesn't have to tell them, stop polling me, I'll get mad and find a way to get at you. He doesn't have to do that. He just have to do it once, like what he did with that company that polled him once and that he's suing. And then everybody falls into line. How are they falling into line? Well, Jeff Bezos fired a whole lot of people in that work for Washington Post. And what else did he do again? He also, uh, when the Post said that the best presidential candidate was uh, Kamala Harris, what did they say? Oh, you can't give any approval. Then we can't forget the LA Times. Same thing happened. The LA Times editorial board said Kamala Harris was the best pick. And your billionaire CEO, Patrick Soon-Shiong, says, oh no, you can't say that. They are slowly encroaching on the media that is supposed to be mainstream and unadulterated. And that means we can no longer trust what the mainstream media tells us. That's why when Mika Brzezinski was so adamant about what Holman actually said, I put her up there. Because as it turns out, uh, this is what autocracy looks like. Because as you are uninformed, misinformed, or left ignorant to what is actually happening, they can be even more effective. They can even be more effective. So, folks, you hear us pitching for KPFT over the last several days, or actually it started today, and you hear me pitching for politics done right. This is what I'm talking about. As these folks control and slowly take over item by item, it's not only that they stop reporting. What also happens is they start to self censor. And sometimes self censor is actually worse than knowing you are reporting what the master wants. When you are self censoring, it is much worse than that. We only have 15 minutes left, and my other piece is 10 minutes. You can actually watch that piece on the newsletter, KPFT, or rather at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's a piece that I did this morning on Nazi and where the Nazis learned a lot about what they did. So right now you can give me a call at 281-823-7747 if somebody has anything to add. But the other story that I want to cover before we go is another important story. Aguanta un ratito cuando lo pongo aquí en la pantalla. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está para que lo pongo en la pantalla? The other screen is, let's see, Trump administration and climate control. That one irks me. And here it goes. Let me put it on. Yeah, it's on the screen already. Oh, yeah, it's on the screen. Trump administration erases the government's power to fight climate change. This one hurts. And the reason this one hurts is this is a complete gift to the private sector, to the companies that pollute, to harm you. And as you are harmed, you have to be paid to unharm yourself. When they allow more dioxin in the ground and you get cancer and other things from that dioxin, you are the one who have to pay the price for your health care to get better, not them. President Trump on Thursday announced he was erasing the scientific finding that climate change endangers human health and the environment, ending the federal government's legal authority to control the pollution that is dangerously heating the planet. That's carbon dioxide that they're talking about here. The action is a key step in removing limits on carbon dioxide, methane, and 4 other greenhouse gases that scientists say are supercharging heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and other extreme weather. The dummies are killing us, people. I repeat, you know I don't normally speak this way, but the dummies are killing us, and we're giving the dummies too much power. And that is because we have fallen asleep behind the wheel, which I hope we don't do. Well, not I hope we don't do, which we are going to work to make sure is not done in November. Led by a president who refers to climate change as a hoax, the administration is essentially saying that the vast majority of scientists around the world are wrong and that a hotter planet is not a menace that decades of research shows it to be. It is a rejection of fact that had been accepted for decades by presidents of both parties, including Richard Nixon. Wasn't Richard Nixon the guy who started the Environmental Agency? I think. Uh, Let me know, guys, but I'm pretty sure he is. Whose top advisor warned of the dangers of climate change, and the first President George Bush, who signed an international climate treaty. And it is a knockout punch in the years long fight by a small group of conservative activists, as well as oil, gas, and coal interests, to stop the country from transitioning away from fossil fuels and towards solar, wind, and other non polluting energy. Let me tell you something, guys. This is not only something that's going to hurt us with our breathing, hurt us with our health, but I want you to think about that. What that is saying is by affecting what car companies can produce, by affecting all these other things, it means that it is no longer profitable for the private sector, hear me out good, for the private sector to innovate or invest in the innovation of green technology. It's no longer effective, right? Why isn't it that way? Because now, if there's not going to be a market in the United States, you're not going to invest in it. Now, the government, the universities, and all these other guys will continue working on it, but the private companies won't. And of course, when the universities come out with stuff, the private companies will buy it up and call it their own. But that's another story. But what it also means are companies like Canada, China, which is leap years ahead of us in electric technology, in cars, etc. They are going to be so far ahead of us that this old man, this old unintelligent buffoon that we have as president of the United States, is holding us back with a chain. He's enslaving us all to be a third world country with a nuclear bomb, a third world country with the biggest military. That if we want to know what happens to a third world country with a military after their dollar has been screwed, take a look. Hi, Lynette. Welcome aboard, sis. Take a look at what happened to the Russian Navy when they ran out of money, when their economy went into shambles. I want to bloviate a little bit here because people think we can do anything. We could do anything because as a country with sovereign currency, a currency where many other countries use it, depend on it, based on it, we could do that. But come on in, Patrick. How you doing, my dear brother?
Doing fine. How are you?
I am doing fine. I haven't heard your voice in a while. Talk to me.
You've had a lot of good calls, and there's so many things going on, I don't even know what to pick. Have we discussed the fact that we're starving Cubans?
We've discussed that so often. Not only Cubans but Venezuelan. We starve them, and then we tell Americans who are not red that it's the Cuban ideology and the Venezuelan ideology that's killing its people. When the reality is, of course, what again? We are doing it physically. Continue, brother.
Well, we've tightened down the sanctions so much that they don't have the calorie intake to survive if this keeps going. And other people are kind of hinting around to say that this is the United States Gaza. What we're doing
let me say something. Patrick, I want to say something because I am from these parts
Sure.
of the world, right? Um, we are starving them from certain things, but here's the thing that we do have to put on the government. It's a very Cuba is a very fertile land, and while they may not have the kinds of foods that we can export to them, right? They have enough land mass, and because of their favorable growing area, can grow a lot of stuff not to starve. So you don't see Cubans looking like you'll see in certain countries in Sudan where there's a desert and not a lot of growing. But it is, you go to Panama, you have a lot of poor people. You go to Colombia, you have a lot of poor people, but they're not particularly starving because we can grow in your backyard down in Panama or these other places. I just want to kind of put that into the discussion. Continue though, Patrick.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to bring that up for a second, and then I wanted to kind of share the fact that Trump keeps moving up the East Wing budget, and it's up to 400 million right now. But he can't get an architect because what he wants isn't possible. And just to give you an idea or a comparison, a super luxury high rise cost about 1,500 per square foot to construct. If you do the math on the budget for the East Wing, it's $4,444.44 per square foot.
Now, what is it that he's doing with the that nobody wants to build?
Well, everything that he offers the architects push back and say that it can't be done, and then they get fired. And he didn't even have a plan before he started the demolition. The demolition was rushed because he knew he'd be stopped. So he destroyed something, didn't even have a plan for it, and now he's gone from 200 million to 300 million to 400 million. And again, there's no construction anywhere that costs that for that square footage. And,
you know what I wonder? I wonder if that thing is actually going to be built.
They can't be restored, and no, I don't think it's gonna be built. I mean, it might as well have gotten hit by a bomb. They've excavated the area.
Yeah.
So there's no foundation.
That is
left.
that is one of the strangest occurrences. I just can't believe that there's not something behind that. I don't get it. But let me just tell you something that I do think. I think what we have to do is I think Minnesota showed us a lot. People have to remain engaged. If people remain engaged and start keeping their eyes open and not letting things just kind of sneak up on them, I think the country will be in good shape, and which is what I think where we're heading to right now. But I think these guys have a lot of ulterior things that they have in their back pockets. That guy on OMB, I forgot his name right now. These guys have a lot of techniques within the Project 2025 in which they're going to try to do quite a few things. And whether Trump is president or not, it doesn't matter because Trump is an old man. And I don't even know if he lasts through this entire. I don't even know if he lasts the entire 4 years. But there's a lot that we have to look at. But
I don't know
anyhow,
if
what
he's
else
gonna
is
make it to
there?
midterms.
I know.
Well, I've wanted to do one impression, but I want your permission first. It's not it's nothing derogatory or anything, but I thought it might
We're
be
not.
funny.
We don't
It's
have.
about
We don't have FCC rules here. Go for it. Go for it. We don't have FCC rules.
okay. Yeah, you and I both like this caller, and I always laugh when she calls in. Now, Trump is no better and no more useful than a jar full of farts, and when he blows his top, the room just stinks. Love y'all. Bye.
You talking about Betty, folks? What he's doing, he's mimicking one of our wonderful callers in the morning. She writes everything down and she calls in, saying what she has to say, and then she gives a universal comment. Love you. We love Betty. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my brother. You have a good one. All right, is there anything else you got to say?
No, I'll call you. I'll call again in the next day or two. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Great hearing from you, Patrick. All right, look, folks, we are close to the end of the program. But let me, yeah, Lynette says, I love Betty too. Yeah, I know what you mean, Lynette. I know what you mean. But, folks, getting serious again, these three topics that I'm speaking about, the three major topics that I'm talking about, Gallup, the environmental protection, and ice breaking. We have to keep engaged. Yeah, she calls me Igberto. I know. You know what? I've been called worse as Stadion. But yeah, we have to get serious about all of this, and we have to stay engaged. If you are watching, eyes open is the best disinfectant. I don't believe in hope at all. I don't believe in hope. I believe in action. And you know who provides the action? You do. And I am out there in the field, not only here in Kingwood, in Houston, and later on, I'm going to be doing our stilts in Baltimore with Netroots and a couple other cities before the year ends. People are activated, and people are getting horribly mad. And all I have to tell everybody is we must never give in, ever. Same thing I tell my daughter when my daughter has gotten 2 strokes. And at times when she just said, what's the point? By the way, she's a teacher now, like our great LBW. What's the point? I said, the point is this: you are going to make a difference in people's life. In fact, your life story is the life story of millions of others in this country. Each of you that are listening to me right now, those of you that are concerned, worried, or whatever, don't be at all. Just do. Share, chat, talk. Convince those who are convincible, who are ignorant. Enjoy them, but stay in the game. And they are hoping that they have more staying power than you do. But there's more good in this world than there's bad. Remember that. Those thugs that make up ICE, those thugs that make up the Trump administration, that's all they are. Thugs. And what we do, those concentration camps that they're building, we'll throw them right back into it. We'll demolish most, but the payback, we must have a payback for all the evil that these guys have done over the last few years. They must pay. MAGA, redeem yourself because you will pay. All right, folks, let me just say this. We need independent media more than ever now. So, those who have the wherewithal, the way we fund what we're doing, the way we fund all the stuff that we do is through our newsletter. Inexpensive when we get several people to do it. So, I want to ask you as kindly, as nicely, as humbly to please support our Egberto Off the Record newsletter. If you're on Substack, you just have to click that subscribe button and become a paid subscriber. We cannot do this without you. We cannot keep telling the message. You see what's happening to all of the other newspapers and Gallup and all of that? That's not going to be us. They're going to have to pull me out of here kicking and screaming before I stop doing this. So please support us. Please allow us to continue to do this. We can't do it without you. And how can you help? If you are on Substack right now, just click that subscribe button and become a paid subscriber. Easy and cheap. It's a cup of coffee. It's a cup of coffee. If you're not on Substack, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and that's the way to support the program. You'll get an option where you can subscribe and become a part of the family. All right, I got to go. It's 4:01. I'm 1 minute ahead, which means I'm going to have to cut it when I'm putting it into podcast form. But you know what, man? Thank you for being here. You can email me directly, info@politicsdoneright.com. Info@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all from the depths of my heart, even my hateful MAGAs. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.